Okay, this is called Relativity Not Sensible, according to Lisa Randall, and the links I will be referring to are these two here. So, right, this is Lisa Randall. She's a professor of science. We can make it a bit bigger. It says that Professor Lisa Randall studies theoretical particle physics and cosmology at Harvard University. Her research connects theoretical insights to puzzles in our current understanding of the properties and interactions of matter. She has developed and studied a wide variety of models to address these questions, the most prominent involving extra dimensions of space. Her work has involved improving our understanding of the standard model of particle physics, supersymmetry, biogenesis, cosmological inflation, and dark matter. Randall's research also explores ways to experimentally test and verify ideas, and her current research focuses in large part on the Large Hadron Collider and dark matter searches and models. Randall has also had a public presence through her writing, lectures, and radio and TV appearances. Randall's books, Warp Passages, Unraveling the Mysteries of the Universe's Hidden Dimensions, and Knocking on Heaven's Door, How Physics and Scientific Thinking Illuminate the Universe and the Modern World, were both on the New York Times list of 100 notable books of the year. So it goes on like that. So she's getting quite influential. We get on to the next thing further bit down further. Randall's studies have made her one of the most cited and influential theoretical physicists, and she has received numerous awards and honours for her scientific endeavours. So she's becoming quite well known now. So go to the relevant article. It's in this article from New Scientist, Dark Matter and the Dinosaurs, a quest for grown-ups, article by Michael Brooks, talking about Lisa Randall's latest book. Go down for the relevant quote. Got a quote here: "If every idea in science were sensible, we would be without quantum physics and relativity." So she's saying that relativity is not sensible, and she's also saying that quantum physics is not sensible. But Einstein's sort of influence has been onto relativity and then onto quantum physics, and I'm not so involved in attacking quantum physics. I'm concentrating more on relativity. So once again, we've had this influence on physics of relativity, and it's not sensible. We have this sort of omission from Lisa Randall. Ideally, we should look a bit more at the context of this. So this article is about her latest book, and it waffles on at the beginning. It starts off: how do we know if you're onto something in science? According to University of Manchester physicist Andrew Gemin, he starts with a feeling, a nagging pull in your gut tells you that your crazy idea is worth exploring. So with bated breath you give it a try. The result is usually failure, whether or not the idea has merit. Then you may or may not try again. Right. So basically, Randall's book is about Randall's proposal is that our galaxy contains a disk of matter, dark matter, with unusual properties. Instead of interacting solely through gravity, as dark matter is thought to, the dark matter in the disk has its own set of interactions. Occasionally, the disk exerts a pull on some of the rocky inhabitants of the Oort cloud beyond the solar system's planets, perhaps enough to dislodge the rock and send it hurling towards a cataclysmic collision with Earth. And she's come up with this idea, and she's thinking about, well, maybe that wiped out the dinosaurs. And clearly the idea is not without merit, because it has now been published in what might be the most prestigious journal in physics, Physical Review Letters, although without mention of dinosaurs. The idea that dark matter did for the dinosaurs, i.e. killed them, is speculative, Randall admits, but in a good way. And this is where we get into the bit here. After all, if every idea in science was sensible, we would be without quantum physics and relativity. Randall even questioned the value of sticking with Occam's razor, the principle that the simplest explanation is usually the best. Although scientists tend to prefer simple ideas, they are rarely the whole story, she says. So the relevant bit is this here. She's trying to justify her theory or her speculations as, well, after all, if every idea in science was sensible, we would be without quantum physics and relativity. So she's saying that quantum physics and relativity are not sensible, and so that makes a sort of justification for her ideas, her speculations. Her speculations are not sensible, and since quantum physics and relativity are not sensible, well, that sort of is supposed to be justification for it. In particular, more into the quote: if every idea in science was sensible, we would be at quantum physics and relativity. So basically, if we're sticking to the relativity bit, relativity doesn't make sense, as I pointed out in my other videos. Here, this one up here, pointing out there's a maths contradiction in Einstein's relativity, and in this one there's no justification for change from Newton to Einstein. In this one, it's about a person who has got ostracised for rebelling against relativity. This one, have Wikipedia talking nonsense about relativity. So basically, you can just dismiss relativity as not being sensible, and then carry on using it. What? It's just nonsense, basically. She thinks admitting relativity does not make sense, doesn't matter. And there were quite a few others who are, so I say, respectable physicists, and they also admit things like relativity is not sensible. but they still carry on believing in it regardless. And in this case, Lisa Randall is pointing out her speculations may not be sensible, but neither is relativity and quantum physics. When you're allowed to bring in nonsense, as what Einstein has done with his relativity, there's nonsense in it now. You've just got mathematical nonsense. When you've got mathematical nonsense in Einstein's relativity, and you've got people who are prepared to look at Einstein's relativity, agree it's not sensible, but still carrying on believing it regardless, they're just building more nonsense on top of more nonsense all the time. There's no stopping them. They can just carry on building more nonsense. And if you do this, when you places like Wikipedia, they then collect all this nonsense they're talking and then stick it down as their articles. Wikipedia talking nonsense about relativity. If you go on there, read about relativity, it's just nonsense. And it's not just enough that should be nonsense. They will then carry on and add more nonsense to the rest of physics, and basically that is one of my complaints against quantum physics. It has been influenced by Einstein, and the basis of Einstein is to actually talk nonsense, and that has influenced quantum physics. And then the influence just carries on further, that now people like Lisa Randall can come up with more nonsense and believe they are justified in doing that nonsense because the basis upon what they're working from is not sensible. So that is modern physics for you. It is one complete and terrible mess.